Welcome to Excel Tips and tip number 17, where we're going to talk a little bit about error checking and model integrity. So for a change, I'm going to talk to you rather than show you something on the screen. Model structure is critical to model integrity, making sure that the data is separated from the calculations and the calculations separated from the output. It makes your model flow a lot better and much easier to review. So do wherever you can separate out your data from your calculations and your outputs. Something I think we touched on in an earlier tutorial. Also, a great way to do checking that your model is actually working as intended is to build in checks within the model. And by this, I don't mean going through reviewing your formulas. I mean actually building a formula which checks the model for you. How do you do this, you say? Well, for example, if you take a balance sheet, you've got your assets and liabilities equaling your net assets, and then you've got your owner's equity. And theoretically, your net assets is going to equal your owner's equity. So it's a very simple formula to say equals if, and then select your line where your net assets is, equals, and then select your line where your owner's equity is, and then say, right, if they equal each other, print OK, else if they don't, print error. And then what you can do is on different points throughout the sheet, making sure that debt covenants haven't been breached, all sorts of different checks that you can do throughout the model. You do the similar formulas, making sure that everything's within the ranges that you've predetermined, or if they're balanced, or whatever the predetermined criteria is for that section of the model. And then what you do at the end of it is you check throughout your model whether or not there are any errors. So a good way to do it is actually have a sheet dedicated just to error checking. So it might be the error checking sheet at the front, and it'll go through the balance sheet, the P&L, the cash flow, any other sheets that you've got with calculations on where errors are checking, and it goes and checks each of those sections to make sure there's errors on them. And theoretically, you should have a sheet which you can print out at the end, which has each of the sheet names and all OK next to them. Or if it has an error there, then you can actually go to that sheet and say, well, what is the error? Oh, the balance sheet isn't balancing. So it's just a quick way to make sure that all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, essentially. So make sure wherever you set up a three-way forecast or any model where you've got parameters which you can actually check, that you try your very best to actually put in error checking to make sure that your model is working as it's intended to work.